right now. How's it going? Um, just Cruise, welcome in, Slicer. This is what we do every Sunday, 12 noon. For some reason, I've been having issues with my internet where the video is not coming across as it should, so I'm not sending out as much speed as I thought. Thought my internet was working good, so I had to like change a couple of settings. Been having this issue. I don't know if it's because I'm not sure if it's a Sunday thing where everybody may be using their internet around the place or something like that, where it's causing drawbacks. But I'm trying to figure that out because I keep losing speed, and it's not sending the information at the right time. Spogma, what's up? Atlas, yo, what's up? How y'all doing today? But yeah, the only main issue I keep having is that on Sundays when we try to do these workshops, basically it starts slowing down. Like my internet, it just gets hit. It starts dragging for some reason, and the only thing I can start thinking of is like, hey, a lot of people are probably online, probably a lot of streaming going on around the neighborhood, and for some reason my internet gets cut, so I'm not uploading as fast. So I apologize if it starts like jittering. Last couple of times I've literally just like stopped the stream and started up, but doing all right. I'm doing well. How y'all doing today? Um, so if this is your first time, because I see a couple of a few new names haven't seen, um, but just basically this is our veteran awareness. Basically, this is the veteran awareness project. What we're trying to do is make sure that we are ensuring that veterans are keeping aware, keeping notified, knowing what they have to do, knowing how they have to file, knowing what information they need in order to be successful when it comes to filing disability claims, uh, gaining their entitlements, making sure that their family, and their spouses have that information also. So that way all that information is there and we just gain it. So if you have any questions concerning anything when it comes to VA issues, don't hesitate to ask. Just go ahead and ask, and we'll get you an answer for it. Yeah, I'm seeing that, Slice. I'm trying to figure out how to. Let me see. See if I lower that. See if that helps some. So I'm not sure why it's dragging so much. It shouldn't be dragging. The connection should not be as bad, but for some reason it's really choppy. Um, and this is like an issue that I always have starting the stream. Death benefits for dad. What exactly do you are you asking for, Sue? Because the thing is are you talking about DIC, like the indemnity payments that you would receive, or what exactly? Because remember, in order to receive any death benefits, which is the DIC, it would have to be because of the fact that you are when your father passed, in basically like the autopsy or the record, it has to show that the veteran passed away due to a service connected issue. So it has to be a service connected issue for that burial. Okay. So we can look up that. Give me 1 second. We'll pull it up. So that way we can read it. Because, like I said, here when we come to this channel, is basically what we do is we find the information through the va.gov site or government sites. We don't go outside entities and stuff like that. So that way you get the information from where you're supposed to, so you know that it's correct and it's not something that is just I'll give my opinion when asked, but all the information that I try to make sure that people obtain and get is basically off of that. Uh damn, I don't know why my damn internet is acting up so bad. I really don't know why it keeps doing that. I was like, I ran a speed test and the speed test is not working for some reason. Uh Give me 1 second so I can share this screen. And this one will be benefits. Okay, so now when I go to share screen, let me see if I can make this smaller so I can see it over the phone. So here we go for the VA burial. can't even speak right now. Burial benefits and memorial items. What exactly are you looking for? Because you have the eligibility. Find out if you qualify. I can't talk this morning. Veterans burial allowance, benefits for burial memorialization, benefits for spouse independence, which is the DIC payments, and then the bereavement counseling. So, what exactly are we looking to get you an answer for, Sue? Like I said, and I also have I just posted the video came on today this morning, the special monthly compensation. So if you fall under that criteria, you can look into that also and obtain any information you need from there. Damn, this video is just like super choppy that you can't even see it. Oh, damn. Burial allowance. Okay. So here we go. So let's make sure this is there so you can see it. Let me know if I need to make it a bit larger because I can move the screen to adjust it so that way it's a better visual for you guys. Um, but yeah, one of the relationships with professional roles describes your connection to the veteran. You're the veteran's surviving spouse. No, the surviving partner. No, you're a surviving child of the veteran. The veteran must not have received a dishonorable discharge, and one of these circumstances must be true. Died as a result of a service-connected disability. Died while getting VA care. Veteran died while traveling with proper authorization at a VA's expense. The veteran died with an original or reopened claim for VA compensation. The veteran died while receiving a VA pension or compensation. And the veteran died while eligible for compensation for VA pension at the time of death. The veteran had been getting a VA pension, or the veteran had chosen to get military retired pay instead of compensation, which is basically the fact when you can't get the concurrent if you've done less than the 20 years. So then it breaks it down to kind of benefits. That is there a time limit for filing? So this is always important. If you're claiming burial allowance for a non-service connected death or unclaimed remains, you must file a claim within 2 years after the veteran's burial. Let's see. Is there a time limit for filing? If you're claiming an allowance for a burial plot, interment, or transportation costs for a non service connected death, and the veteran died while getting VA care, either at a VA health facility or facility contracted by the VA, there's no time limit to file a claim. So if it's non service connected, you have a 2 year period. If it's um, claiming an allowance and stuff like that, you have no time limit. For veterans discharge was changed after death, you have 2 years after the fact. So Sue, have you already gone through the process of filing that? It's more than 2 years. Okay, so you've gone past the 2 year mark. So the question then becomes is was this a service connected death? Because that's what changes it here. Because if it's a service connected death, you don't have any timetable. So there's no timetable for you to file this and claim that allowance. Because it basically says if you're claiming an allowance for burial, plot, interment, or transportation costs for a service connected death, there's no time limit. So this is the information you're gonna need. Itemized receipt for transportation or medical records. So basically, do you have the documentation showing that it is a service connected issue? Because that's usually the biggest issue that people have is that sometimes you get the death certificate, but the death certificate is very vague and it doesn't specify what the cause was. So sometimes you may run into problems with the VA where the VA doesn't want to give you the benefit. Not that they don't want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but it's just that if it doesn't specify, like let's say you claimed it was a heart condition, and that heart condition isn't in the service connected and is not specified, they might try to give you shit for it, and that's the unfortunate part. So best thing is I will put this not a service connected issue. So there's the link to that. It should send it out to the chat. And then check it that way, and you can go through that part. Um See, if you're a surviving spouse, because that's where it gets different. Because the thing is you are considered a dependent and not the spouse. So it's like it should be the same criteria, but it falls under different items. You see what I'm saying? So if it's not a service connected thing and it's been past 2 months, your best bet would be to go talk to a VA, a VSO, reach out to one of the organizations and see how they can assist you. Because sometimes keep in mind that the VA has its regulations and stuff like that, but sometimes these organizations provide assistance that the VA doesn't. So, in the case there's a, let me pull up the organization. Give me 1 second, because I have a list of all these organizations that have been oh, I could just open it this way. Give me 1 second. Because there's an organization that has that, but I need to give you the name so you can look into that one. The organization is called Children of Fallen Patriots Foundation. And here is this link. So this is, copy that. Yes, or you can also do that too. So that's a Children of Fallen Patriots Foundation. So they assist a lot of veterans when it comes to if their family member died, if they're a surviving child of. Remember, each one of these has their own eligibility and their own criteria to assist, but it doesn't hurt to actually reach out to them and see. Because most of the times, like I said, reaching out to organizations is the best thing. Because the thing is these organizations have connections, and if they can't provide something for you, they usually have that resource to send you to a different location. Like, hey, go and talk to this organization, they might be able to help you out. So in that case, but yes, if you can't get the death certificate fixed, which is basically a correction, like a Slicer said, that allows you to actually place it as a service connected issue. So if it is, which you still have to, so then that means you still have to do the legwork to basically figure out, hey, what was the service connected issue? The what does the death certificate say? And then from there, can be can it be like basically connected and redone to show that it was part of what that is, or even if there's an explanation from a medical provider basically stating that yes, this was attributed to his service connected issue, which the service connected issue was this, he died, but it was because of implications or complications of this um service connected issue. And if you can get that, that gives you that opens up that timetable, because like basically it shows here it's open to more than 2 years. If it's not a service connected issue, they want it to be a 2 year thing, which that's something that I think we need to talk about changing, because whether service connected or not, I think still if you served, you passed away, you should at least get that benefit, or the family member should still get that benefit to get assistance, whether service connected or not. Because the thing is a lot of the times we do have like the fact that us as veterans have all these secondary issues. A lot of these secondary issues, sometimes we don't actually attribute them, or we don't actually put them into. So Slicerhead has the question. So let's see if I can highlight the question. So here's the question that Slicerhead has. It basically says, why should a vet seek mental health treatment if the end result could result in a decrease of benefits? So the reason why you should always reach out for treatment, Slicer, is that no matter what the benefit is mental health treatment, because you are going to obtain a better processing of your mental health treatment or your mental health issue, whether it be depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, PTSD. It's best to go. It's best to go get seen to do it. Now the thing is you got to remember with some of these issues, you're not gonna actually get better. Like PTSD is never gonna go away. Depression is not gonna go away. What you end up finding is moments where you can better cope, better understand the triggers, better understand the stuff to basically minimize when you have those issues. You are still going to have those issues. The VA understands you're still going to have those issues. They may not be as bad, but you got to remember when you're going to, let's say, a CMP examination, what you are explaining is as like, hey, this is how I am. Some days are good, some days are bad, and some days are worse. But when you're talking to the VA, when you're talking to the CMP examiner, you have to make sure that you are talking about the worst days. You have to make sure you are establishing those bad days and telling them, like, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is the bad issues. This is how I am when I'm at my worst. Because then it allows them to see that, and it gives you, that's the justification for you to keep those ratings. Because the thing is nobody, you, there's no curing it. There's no just getting rid of it. Nobody just goes for mental health issues that got a diagnosis and got a claim for it, and then all of a sudden it just completely disappears. It might improve, which yes, it might limit it, but you have to make sure that you are putting that information out there. Hey, what's up, Angel? Greetings. So before you reach out and show you have the death certificate and DD 214 and his award letters and or code sheet, the more you present, the fewer headaches. See, that's why I love having this community, because you have people that come in and also assist other veterans when it comes to that. So Sue, the same way he just gave you an explanation of what it is you need to do. Make sure, as always, um, even when it comes to filing your disability claim, you just want to make sure you have your ducks in a row and you want to have your documentation prepared and in place to assist you with these issues. So that way you have everything in place and you don't have to worry about it. Uh, I really don't know why my internet is crapping out, y'all. I really do apologize. It is not like cooperating at all. And I'm not sure why it's pulling so little internet when I have enough internet to do so. So that's the crazy part. That's what I don't understand. I have the internet to to basically be able to show this, but it's not doing it. And then the bit rate, I can't change it here, which is high also. Let's do this. But yeah, those are the things. I don't know what to tell y'all. Like, you last week we didn't have this issue with the internet where it was just like very choppy and it was a lot smoother. For this week, I guess it's just like everybody, I guess, is watching games or streaming it online or something, and it's not pulling the internet. It's pulling my internet a lot worse than it usually does, which is interesting. But yeah, because I last week we did not have this issue, and I don't feel like stopping everything and restarting it, which I already did. Um, Let me see. But yeah. Oh, I forgot. I forgot to start with the announcements this week. For the announcements, we are working on a newsletter. So we are also working on a newsletter that is something that we will publish to the community. So that basically it'll be a community post on YouTube. I'm looking to see where else I'm gonna be putting it at, but it will be a weekly newsletter that is created just to give y'all background information or stuff that may be changing ongoing, so that way you're more aware of what these changes are. It is the Veteran Awareness Project. So what we're trying to do is make you guys aware. So basically finding that information that assists you with gaining information and keeping you ahead of the curve when it comes to possible upcoming changes or anything that may happen with VA news or the veterans community or stuff like that, so that way you're more informed. Because I don't do these lives. I do these lives every Sunday, and that's 12 noon Central Time when internet isn't acting a fool. But we do these and we do pop-ups here and there. We're going to start making these videos. We have our 2025 disability pay rates. The video is up there. Um, Also have I lowered Sue, I lowered the settings. So I tried to lower the settings so it looks better, but the settings should be a lot higher. So it should be a lot like there's probably a little lag going on with y'all visuals, but it should not be happening that way. But we'll keep on troubleshooting as long as y'all can see me and hear me. As long as y'all can hear me, I say it's good and it's not too choppy. That would be best. If y'all can't see me and the picture goes out a bit, we might just cut out the picture and see if that helps. Uh, but yeah, all those changes. We're gonna keep going. So special monthly compensation video is out. And the disability rates are out also. So that information is out there. The rates are there to know. Also, we have also made the information and put the information out there for the Chapter 35 benefits. I have not made a video on that yet. I'm working on making it. The thing is the information is pretty cut and dry. It's pretty short. But basically that information is going to be there for you basically to acknowledge it and see that, hey, if you are 100% permanent in total and you have a spouse or dependents, which enables them to take advantage of that Chapter 35 benefits, you basically receive that tax-free monthly stipend while they're in school. Keep in mind that this is not like a GI Bill. This is something that gives your spouse and your dependents a monthly stipend, which maxed out if you are enrolled full time, it is $1,500, 1536, I believe, or 15, like around 1540, per month. Then if you are 3/4 of the time, it's like about 1280 a month. And then if you are enrolled half time, it is not 890. Keep in mind that if you are falling under the 890, you basically will get paid, the school will get paid for it. So let's say you are going to school for maybe like just one course and you're not full time, and that counts as less than half. Basically, the VA is going to send you that check to pay for the school. It won't give you that money to receive it on your own. So those are the two different things, but it's still something to take advantage of when it comes to school benefits. Let's see what else do we, what other questions do we have to continue to keep assisting you guys. Yeah, and that's part of the announcements, the newsletter, so that'll keep you informed. Y'all have a newsletter every week. Y'all gain information that way, so any VA news that pops up and stuff like that, you'll get a little rundown. You'll be able to read it, something quick, and it'll have your information and your sources, so it gives you that stuff, so that way we stay on top of the game. Because that's one thing I noticed with this is like we need to make sure that we are enabling veterans and we need to make sure that we are providing them the information that they need, not the information that people suggest. It's not easy and it's not a simple thing to get to 100% PNT. It is not something that just happens. That's something that you have to work towards. That's something you have to be educated on. That's something you have to know what you have to look for and where you have to look for it. That's the problem that I've been noticing when I speak to veterans or I talk to different, just even different entities. You talk to VA lawyers, you talk to VA attorneys, you talk to VA raters, or even CMP examiners. When you have those, you ask those questions after the fact. And that's why I try to obtain that information, because it benefits veterans more. Because a lot of the times, veterans are very hesitant to ask a question. Veterans are hesitant to, how can I put it? Sometimes veterans are hesitant to step out of their comfort zone because they've been so used to not asking these questions or not saying something or just keeping it to themselves. That mentality has to change in order for us to be more successful. If you have questions and stuff like that, you got to ask. Does a vet who gets housebound by achieving 100% in 60 days, is he still bound to housebound guidelines like the vets that are housebound? Does a vet who gets housebound by achieving 100% and 60%. So Slicer, when it comes to housebound, you basically have to fall under that criteria. The housebound requirements are a different criteria like that. So if you receive, so basically you fall under the special monthly compensation. So if you fall under the special monthly compensation, that's what it goes through. YouTube thumb, hit the like button. Appreciate you, Marine. Hoorah. I'm Army though, but I was married to a Marine at first. First marriage was to a Marine, so I understand. But so let's say if you fall under housebound conditions, basically you are going to get evaluated for those housebound conditions. So basically you are not going to get awarded those housebound conditions if you're able to get out of the house. So that's the thing. So that's where you might fall under a problem, because the thing is if you are under housebound conditions and you out of the street playing basketball and stuff like that, you're gonna get hit with fraud. That's playing basketball might be like a little bit of an exaggeration part, but if you are housebound, you get, because you get observed for that. That means that you have either a medical professional or you have aid in attendance, basically, that basically shows that you are being assisted with daily issues. Most of the time that will happen when it comes to you get evaluated. Most of the time it'll be a condition where it just meets that criteria where, hey, you can't clean yourself, you can't walk on your own, you can't bathe yourself, you can't put clothes on your own. Those are the that's the criteria that helps you fall into the housebound issue. If you are not housebound, you're not gonna get housebound. You might get aid in attendance because you may need the assistance for daily stuff like feeding yourself or eating stuff like that. But if you are still able to get out of the house and do household things on your own, you don't fall under that classification of housebound. So that's where people, because I know a lot of people think that that's what it is. It's just like if you are 100% PNT and you are 100% because of PTSD, that is not going to make you housebound if you're able to still get out of the house. If you're still able to like clothe yourself, bathe yourself, and stuff like that, you may have issues while doing it, but that doesn't keep you in the house. There's no like you have to be in the house kind of thing. Now, if you are in a wheelchair or you lost a limb or something like that, that usually adds to the fact that causes the housebound. If you are, let's say, on a machine that you have to go around, most of the time those are criteria that might keep you housebound. Otherwise, it's not going to be considered housebound. So keep that in mind. And especially now that the VA has been looking into a lot of people, um, a lot of veterans have been causing the issues for themselves with just fraud. There's been a lot of that going on where it's just people are either blatantly lying or blatantly exaggerating their issues in order to get to 100% PNT. And that's why you got to remember there's the correct way of doing it. Service connection does work. You just have to do the legwork. Some people just like to skip out and they try to exaggerate and lie about the issues to try to get um to basically try to get ahead faster. I would say, and that's something that people need to realize, that it doesn't benefit you in the long run. Because at the end of the day, you may get that examination, you may get something like that, and you may be going to go get evaluated, and it might be just your yearly thing. And they might ask like, "Hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to get seen for this? Do you want to go to physical therapy? Do you want to refer?" And then sometimes you can ask for the referrals too. But if you're not getting assistance, not getting seen, and you are better, those are the instances where sometimes you get relooked. But you got to remember, being reevaluated and being reduced is not a we saw you this first time and hey, we're just going to take away your benefits. It is something that you have to progressively show. No, Slicer, that is not the case. If you are 100% for something and 60% for another, it is not, nothing is automatic. We should get that established. Nothing is automatic with the VA. The thing is you may fall for the eligibility. You might fall into that eligibility better. It might be a higher chance, but there's no automatic. 70 to 100% PTSD help. Q Hut. I remember I seen you made the comment in the video. I did publish the special monthly compensation. So if you haven't seen it yet, the special monthly compensation has been posted also. Now, when it comes to you're asking for assistance when it comes to 70 to 100%. This is what I'm going to show you. Give me 1 second. So, I'm going to go here and we are going to go to the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4, which is the schedule of ratings for disabilities. You can go that. Let me see. I'm gonna try something. Private cruise. Private cruise. I don't think it's working. There we go. Provide chat code of regulations. There you go. So if y'all want to follow along, there y'all go. If you had a computer, y'all can use that. Get that information that way. And you have it to use in that manner. So you can use it that way, and you can follow along if you're able to. If not, you can just follow along on the screen, and I'll show you exactly where you have to go to do this. So basically, on here you have it when you load it up. I gotta try to make this smaller so that it fits. But the thing is, if I make it any smaller, y'all can't really see it too well. Okay, glad you saw it. Glad you saw it. So here, when you have this, when you go to the schedule of ratings, you just have to basically go to table of contents. You go to the table of contents. Under the table of contents, you will see it basically gives you the rundown on everything. And it's the musculoskeletal system, the special organs of sense, the impairment of auditory acuity, infectious diseases, immune disorders, respiratory, cardiovascular. It basically gives you a rundown on everything that you can get evaluated and file a disability claim for. Now you would have to go to mental health disorders, which falls under 4.125. So now this, you can click on this, and this also will give you and there we go. So that'll give you that information there. So that'll take you directly to the mental health section. What you got to understand is like, if you are trying to get this, this is the criteria they go off of. So if you are 70%, in order for you to be able to get to 100%, being at 70, you have to fall under this criteria. You have to fall under the criteria that, excuse me, total occupational and social impairment due to such symptoms as gross impairment in thought processes or communication, persistent delusions or hallucinations, grossly inappropriate behavior, persistent danger of hurting self or others, intermittent inability to perform activities of daily living, which include maintenance of minimal personal hygiene. Basically, if you can't take care of yourself. Disorientation to time or place, which basically you lose where you're at or stuff like that. And memory loss for names of close relatives, own occupation, or own name. Who and how to get total social and employment impairment. Now, the thing is to get total social and total and employment impairment, that has to come from you being evaluated. So you have to have a medical provider basically saying that you are not able to function in society, kind of. That's basically the best way of doing it. You would not be able to hold a job due to your mental health issues. So you would not be able to work as a desk clerk or work at the post office or work at a desk job where it's just even you with the computer because your social impairment to dealing with things will cause you to either trigger an episode or trigger anxiety or trigger a rush of emotions, or however it is that it causes you. That's what you need to have to provide that. You need documentation and you need diagnosis of that. So basically, if you are talking to a therapist, a counselor, if you're talking to anybody of that sort and they have noticed this and they're putting this in paper, that document and that information has to be submitted with your file to increase. So if you're filing an increase, that's how you would go about doing it. In order to do that, you have to show, and a medical provider has to diagnose you with the fact that your symptoms or your stuff has gotten worse. That's the only way to go about doing these increases when it comes to mental health issues. You have to show the diagnosis and you have to show the proper documentation showing that your issues are worsening. Because if you're at 70%, it already has occupational and social impairment there. For 100%, it's total occupational and social impairment. So basically, if you're at 70%, it already understands that you are at the point where. So now let's look at the 70%. The 70%, occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas, such as work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, or mood due to such symptoms as. I already told my psych doc all that. Primary care, don't write it. Yeah, Slicer. That's the other thing with that. Um, Look, everybody is going off of this date. I've seen a lot of other channels try to push this April 2025, the changes, this, and that. I was like, look, I'm gonna tell it like this. I'm not a fan of those channels because they keep on pushing this gaslighting information towards veterans. Plain and simple. The changes for mental health, there's been talk about this since 2022. Since 2022, people have been gaslighting veterans that, oh, there's going to be a change. There's going to be a change. There's going to be a change. Till we don't have anything concrete saying what the changes are and what it is, nobody knows what the actual changes are. So going off of information where, oh, your mental health is going to change because this is going to be, nobody knows that. None of these other channels have concrete information to actually give service members or veterans that that's the exact change that's going to happen. April of 2025, I can't remember. I had the document somewhere. I saved it. I don't think I have it anymore. But it was the page that had it that showed it. Call to action date is April, and it just says 4/00/25. So it doesn't even have a specific date. It just says April of 2025 is when these changes may happen. Yeah. What you need to do is, but that's the thing is, if you are already going through that, you may have to just get a different provider that's doing that. If your primary care doctor won't write it, usually the primary care doctor is just your doctor. If your psych doc has it, your psych doc has to do that. And if he's notating it and he's putting that in writing, that means Q, you have to obtain those documents from that psych doctor. Get that documentation from the psych doctor. You are able to get your medical records from that psych doctor. If it's in there, what's in federal regulations? It's in federal regulations that April of 2025, it's going to make a change. But they haven't specified what the change is. I still haven't found. Because all I see is prepare, proposed, possible. Every video that I've seen, it is just possible. They may change it to this. They may change it to that. No, Nobody has been able to concretely say this is what's going to happen. Oh, here we go. I just found it. Here we go. This is the document that everybody's talking about. This is the information where everybody's talking about. Like I said, we're going to make sure we find the information directly where it is to highlight and show veterans what the information is and not try to give them false information when it goes to. This is the information here. And I'll put this in the link. I'll put the link in here so that if you want to visualize it and you want to read it yourself, this is where it is. This is where it basically stays, and I'm going to just read what it says. View rule. This is from the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, Office of Management and Budget. View rule. VA. Title. Schedule for rating disabilities. Mental disorders. Abstract. The Department of Veteran Affairs amends the portion of the rating schedule dealing with mental disorders, including revising the general rating formula for mental disorders and removing the separate general rating formula for eating disorders in the VA schedule for rating disabilities. The final rule reflects changes made by the American Psychological Association Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, advances in medical knowledge, and recommendations from VA's Mental Disorders Work Group. So what does it say? Action. And this is when it has started. It started in April. Let me make sure y'all see that. Started in April. February 15th of 2022. Comment period end. April 18th of 2022. So basically within 2 months they said something. They said something. They didn't say anything. They didn't make it concrete. Final action. This is the date everybody's talking about. This is the big highlight that everybody wants to push and everybody wants to talk about and make a big issue. The April 00 of 2025. Final action. Now, keep in mind, that is when they are stating their final action will be. But they've been saying final action for the past 3 years. They have been stating, yes, this is what we have. Because you got to remember, as we continue, as the years go on, more medication comes out there. You have, keep this in mind. This past week, Congress just had a bunch of veterans in Congress basically talking about the possibility of psychedelics and medical marijuana. Now, when people realize that, that also throws changes into the mental disorder evaluations. Because the thing is, hey, are they going to change it that, hey, if you are under this, you may require a lower rating or stuff like that? That's something that still has to be looked into. So that's why when they say April of 2025, a lot of veterans are being gaslit like, oh my God, there's going to be these impending changes. Nobody knows for certain yet until the VA publicizes it, puts it in writing. And if you notice, when you go to the CFR, which we'll go back to it right here, top. At the top, you see how it says displaying Title 38 up to date as of 10/17/2024. Title 38 was last amended 10/10/2024. So y'all can see it there. Last amendment, and then it gives you the historical view versions. So you can literally go and check to see what the previous versions were and when they were updated. Now, like I said, this rule is basically for the mental health disorders. Now, let's go look at the other one, which is, this is for schedule for rating disabilities, ear, nose, throat, audiology disabilities, special provisions regarding evaluation of respiratory conditions, respiratory system. And it gives you the same spiel or the same talk about this other one. Same issue, Sections that they find the purpose of these changes is to update the terminology, incorporate medical advances that have occurred since the last review, and provide well-defined criteria in accordance. Hold on, I'll make sure to put this one in the in the chat also, so you can look at that one also. So these are the two items that basically everybody is talking about. Everybody is making a big fuss over, which it is a big fuss. Don't get me wrong. This is something that is important, that is something we need to keep up to date with. The issue is that the final action is April and doesn't even have a date. So basically what the VA is telling us and telling itself is like, hey, look, no shit, April, we need to make something. That's literally all that we know. April, we doing something. Now, April could come by and they can determine, hey, we still haven't found enough information, or we just found this new medication that helps with PTSD. Because you got to remember, PTSD treatment has improved. They have the rapid eye. I forget it because I do this damn thing. I always forget the acronym for it. But they got the rapid eye treatment thing for PTSD. That's an improvement. That's something that has come out and is still being evaluated, still being observed to see if it's helping veterans or not. Those are still medications, because you got to remember, with these changes to the schedule of ratings, it also goes into, and they want to consider the medications that they are providing. Because the thing is if the VA knows, hey, you are going to get these changes, but we got some medication that's going to make you lower it, they fine with not giving you a higher rating. It was just like, hey, psychedelics and medical marijuana helps reduce stress levels and depression, or whatever the case, whatever study shows. That's something that they have to improve. That's something that they have to include. That's something that has to be evaluated. April 2025 is the date that they have set to make sure, like, hey, this is what you're doing. This is when it may happen. This is what you're looking at. That's the date. That's what they're showing you. That's it. There's nothing in writing until you don't see effective date changes where they will propose it. Because that's the thing, the VA does that. The VA on here on the Code of Federal Regulations, they will put it on there, and you will see the update. Like when they did the digestive system, when they updated the GERD and the irritable bowel syndrome and everything within the digestive system, they made that change and they put an effective date, which told veterans, hey, anything after May 19th of 2024, you will fall under any disability claims and ratings from this change. If you already filed something prior to May 19th of 2024, before the digestive tract changes were implemented, you fall under the previous information. And that's what people need to realize. You are falling into those two different sections. So basically, if you have your documentation and you get your paperwork straight and you have your evaluation straight, make sure to check and obtain the stuff you need to file now. Don't wait for the changes. If you already have what you need, don't wait for the changes. Because the thing is you can file now and you can get a rating. If down the line, when you file for that rating, you may file for an increase, and maybe with the proposed changes, you may get a higher rating with it, or you may not. But you have to evaluate yourself, and you have to take care of and run through the process as if it's going to happen now. Because everybody is talking about April. And like I said, look at when this has been spoken about. 2022. I've been hearing about it. I didn't even get out till at the end of the year in 2022. That's when I got out. I got out in August. So they had already mentioned this. Yes. And that's what I was telling them, Angel. It's just like it's not an automatic that you get it. You're not automatically going to get housebound. Housebound, you have to follow the criteria and you get evaluated for that. Because basically, they will go to your home. They will see what you do. They will see around the house and stuff like that. You will get a deeper evaluation for being granted housebound. SMCS, different story. That's the difference. You have to make sure that you fall under the criteria. Angel, I appreciate you. That's what this is all about. But like I said, those are the issues when it comes to these VA changes. These two things. I put both those links in there. Y'all can look at them that way. Those are two different things right there that highlight and show like, hey, this is the final action date. This is when they want to say, hey, we're gonna do something about it. Does that mean it's gonna happen? It's the VA. When have they been on time with anything? Like I said, when has the VA been on time with anything? So the VA is saying April of 2025, but they couldn't even specify a date. They just said the month. That could be on the 1st, could be on the 20th, 25th. It doesn't specify when the day is. It just says, hey, in April, we're going to let you know what we've decided. And in April, they could be like, hey, we need to extend this time for another 7 months or something because we have more information or we haven't found a solid thing. Or it could be that these are the changes, but then the changes will be announced and then you will know when they are announced. And then you will receive an effective date. You are not going to receive this information and they are going to make the changes instantly. That's what you got to remember. Also, remember, make sure to like the live, share it out to any veterans that you might find out there, and do it that way. But that's something you got to keep in mind. When it comes to that, you are not going to get these changes. Are not just going to happen on April. They have to notify the people. They have to be published. The publication will come out, and then, like I said, on the title on the CFR, it'll put it up here and it'll tell you what it is, but they will announce what it was, because the same way with the digestive system, let me see. Let me see if it has it. See, now this is the other. So this is how they went about it when it came to the update. Carmen, good afternoon. How you doing? But this is how they did it when it came to the VA updates, the VA schedule for ratings. This was in March of 2019, 2024. Remember, the implementation of the digestion system changes was May 19th. And it basically explains it here, where it basically states it. Today, the VA announced an update to the VA schedule of rating disabilities, specifically pertaining to digestive conditions. The changes add or modify rating criteria for 55 medical conditions in the rating schedule that incorporate medical advancements for treating certain disabilities and modern medical knowledge to compensate veterans more accurately. This is what I'm waiting for. This is the piece of news or information that I'm waiting for, to then be able to give you guys that information. I'm not going to tell you, oh, this was going to happen, this was going to change. No, because it'll tell you right then and there. The VA will announce it that, hey, we are making changes, or we have decided on these changes. And then it basically says beginning May 19th. And that was the effective date for these changes. If y'all want to read into it, because look, there's a bunch of stuff in here. I'll put this in the link too in the chat. If y'all have any digestive issues, look into that for a claim. If you have irritable bowel syndrome, if you have GERD, remember, sometimes GERD can be caused by your medication. Your medication can also cause secondary effects. Remember that. Because look, VA will also adjust the criteria for evaluating irritable bowel syndrome, also known as IBS. Previously, VA offered 0, 10, and 30% evaluations for the condition. Under the new criteria, veterans may be entitled to 10, 20, or 30. So basically, they eliminated the zero part, basically saying, yes, if you have irritable bowel syndrome, you are going to get a rating for it. And it can be now from 10 to 30, where before it was 0, 10, and 30. So this is what I say when it comes to this whole what are the changes and what's upcoming with this April 25th thing. You're going to get this in the news. You're going to get this documentation and you're going to find this information where the VA will announce it like, hey, today we announce there will be changes to the mental health disorder, whatever the case may be. Today we will announce these are the changes coming to the auditory, to tinnitus and stuff like that here. The effective date of these changes will be so-and-so date. And that's what we have to wait for. This whole, these might be, we don't know what these changes are. Because the thing is nobody can find a concrete answer as to what changes are happening when it comes to mental health. Mental health is there's certain talk of certain changes. Certain talk of certain changes, certain talk of certain things. That's just like, hey, these are the things that we know are being proposed, but there's nothing that says this is what exactly is going to happen. And that's what we need to start making sure we are taking care of and paying attention to. Like I said, if you have the information, the documentation, the imagery, the nexus letter, the buddy statements, all the information you need to file now, do so. At the end of the day, remember, you can always file for an increase. And keep in mind, this is the other thing. I'm not too sure on this one, but if you use the intent to file date today, that still gives you till October of 2025. Now, the thing I'm not sure on is will that affect when the claim gets processed and how it gets processed when it comes to these possible changes? There, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you have a filing intent date of today and they will basically rate you under the old information, or if it happens after the fact, will it do it with the new criteria? So that's a question I have to look into and try to see if I can find an answer for. But like I said, those are the things that people need to pay attention more. When it comes to this, we need to make sure that we are not causing ourselves more anxiety. We are not causing ourselves more of a headache by thinking like, hey, this is going to happen. Like I said, there's going to be information that comes out, and when the information comes out, it'll be plain as day. It'll be shout out to everybody. Trust me. I will assure you that all these other channels, the same way they've been trying to say all these possible changes and prepare for it, all these channels are going to be like, hey, this is what's come out. I'm going to make sure I do that. That's going to be something that we probably live stream and we go line by line what these changes are and what is happening, and then I'll make a video separately on that. But that's something, like I said, we need to stop gaslighting veterans and stop giving them these false thought processes, because the thing is like, look, if you are a veteran and you have a disability claim and you already have the stuff you need, what are you waiting for to file? You're waiting on possible changes. What happens if those possible changes actually lower the percentage that you may actually receive? Maybe you get evaluated differently. What if your percentage now, instead of you thought you were going to get that 50, now under the new criteria, you might just get 30? How does that affect you going that way? It was just like, if you're going to keep waiting on possible changes, you're better off filing a disability claim now with what you have and what you know, because then at least you know what these changes are. You know what the criteria is. And at the same time, if you file now from here to April, you still got a couple of months. You still may be, if you have a fully developed claim, you can get an answer prior to that. And if you know, oh, okay, these changes is actually going to benefit me, you can wait. Because remember, you got a whole year to file for an appeal. So either you can appeal it, and then the appeal might bring it into the new criteria, or you just file for an increase and get yourself a higher rating. But at the same time, a lot of people are worried about, too many people are worried about, oh, what are these changes going to affect? I was just like, if you haven't filed and gotten your rating yet, it might not affect you at all. A lot of you got to remember, this process is taking long. That the backlog is still increasing. We have more and more veterans that are filing for claims. We have 19 million veterans out there. In total, we have 19 million veterans alive. 19 million. 8 million are using the benefits. So now let's say we have another, let's say we had all 19 million vets filing disability claims, filing for increases, filing for whatever the case may be. How much longer do you think these processes are going to take? Because the backlog has increased, because we've had a jump in about 2 million veterans filing for disability claims because of the PACT Act. The PACT Act has brought up 2 million more veterans to actually file a disability claim. We still don't have all the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans retired yet. Those numbers are still going to trickle in. How much more time is it going to take to process a disability claim? Because if Congress and the government and the VA is not getting more money, how do you think more of these are going to be processed? What do you think is going to happen? If the VA is having such a backlog now and backdating and having issues just trying to file for this stuff now and get it done correctly, what makes you think is going to be any better if the VA gets even more people filing disability claims? So that's why I say, if you have the proper stuff, and I'm telling you not to file just to file urgency because of urgency, file because you have your stuff correctly. Yeah, exactly, Carmen. And that's what I'm saying. It's just like, that's what us veterans need to realize. Make sure, like, and that's why I have that video also, which I'll probably redo it and make something a little shorter and easier. You have to make sure you are filing correctly. Make sure you have the proper documentation. Make sure you have the proper information. Make sure you have the proper imagery, buddy statement, nexus letter, whatever documentation and everything that will provide a fully developed claim. Make sure you're filing it that way, because that makes your time to get an answer that much faster. What's up, claim? Just got 100% PNT. Oh, and I have two. How should I keep fighting for it or just leave it alone? So this is a. What were you in the army? I was a chemical specialist. I was Seaburn, dealing with toxins, unfortunately, but chemical slicer. Clayton. So you just got 100% PNT. You're waiting for the higher level review. My question to you is for those two claims, are these two claims that you may pass away from? Or are these two claims that can down the road cause health issues? Because the thing is you got to remember, what the review is are you reviewing it because they decided to not service connect it? Or are you reviewing it because they gave you the wrong rating? Because if you already got the 100% PNT and you already have those issues service connected, you don't need a higher level percentage if you're already at 100% PNT. Now, are these two issues that they were not service connected but down the road can cause more issues? I would say y'all would keep it. That's my opinion, though. As you can see, Slicer says call and withdraw. It all depends on the way I look at it. The way I look at it when it comes to veterans and they have that 100% PNT and they say not to poke the bear, what my thought process when it comes to that is, I'm going to poke the bear if it's something that I might die from. That's when I'll poke the bear. If it's something that where I may die from it, I will poke the bears to make sure that my family is taken care of on the back end. If it's because you're like your pinky, you wanted that 10% on your arthritis in your hand, I'm gonna pull that back. But if it's something like, hey, something like heart condition or something to the case where down the road, if you look into it, you may die from it. I'm keeping that. I'm gonna poke the bear. That's what I tell. That's my feeling for it. I don't know how everybody else looks at it differently. Some people want to file for it and stuff, and it's just like, oh, I got 100% PNT, and they dump it off. I don't care. Me, I'm 100% PNT. But best believe if I have something that I know I may die from, you best believe I'm gonna end up filing for it. I don't care whether I know I'm not gonna get an increase, but I know if I pass away and die from it, my family's taken care of. Because if you decided, oh, I got 100% PNT, and then it's something that you died from, there goes the DIC payments for your family. The indemnity, just like it's not service related. So you're not gonna get your spouse and your kids are not gonna get that check. It's not the same check, but it's still a check. You're not there to provide that 100% P&T check. But now at least you can provide something for your family after you've died. Yeah, Andrew, and that's what I said. If you have do, the vet has an intent to file now, the vet falls under the current CFR, and when and if they change, then the vet has to submit for an increase of yeah, and that's what I tell people. So sleep apnea, you fight for. That has to deal with your breathing, bro. that has to deal with your breathing. Hemorrhoids, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. Sleep apnea though, I keep that one. That has to do with your breathing. Sleep apnea is something that hey, you may go to sleep and not wake up because you ain't breathe right, or you choking in your sleep. You're not getting enough oxygen to your body. That's something that's there that is just that's one of those claims that is just like I fight for sleep apnea because that is something that is just like hey, you may get older in age and you may pass away because your body just didn't decide to do it correctly. See now, you're diagnosed with a CPAP and had an inconclusive sleep study while active. So if you've been diagnosed with it and you have a CPAP machine, the only benefit I would say from that is to make sure it's connected because of the fact then you can get your resupply for free. You'll get your resupply for free. Every year you just have to go in. They have it, which is one part that kind of scares me is the fact that it's just like it sends the information to the VA, but I use mine every night. So it's just like it's not like they're gonna be like, "Oh, you ain't using your shit." No, I use my shit every night, and it helps me tremendously. But every year you go, you bring in your machine, they check your machine, make sure it's working properly. This past year they just gave me a new one because the old one I had, I received it while I was in Germany, and it was like the older model. I went this year to get checked on and stuff. They gave me the new model. New model was there and they gave me 2 years worth of supplies. They send you with 2 years worth of supplies every year. So that's the one benefit that I see from that is just like you'll have your CPAP machine and they will provide you the information for it. They will provide you the supplies for it every year. They send you a 2 year supply. So that means you get new masks, new filters, new straps, new masks and stuff like that. And you get that every year as a resupply. So in your case, yes, up to you. But at the end of the day, it's always the veteran's decision. But stuff like that, I always say that the best thing to do is make sure to take care of yourself so that you are getting. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, Angel. It's just like you are preparing your like, look, the same way you fighting for this 100% PNT, most veterans when they fighting for this, they have family or they're gonna start a family. At the end of the day, you want to still be able to provide for your family. And at the end of the day, if you decided not to file that disability claim, They get Slicer, they're gonna get the DIC. That's the thing. You will get the DIC. If you 100 and you died because of service connected thing, you get the DIC. And we were talking about what that with Sue earlier when it comes to the burial. I was just like it's there. All that stuff is there for a reason. Those things that they have is there for a reason. Because the thing is, you gotta remember, the VA ain't trying to just hand stuff out. The VA is not just trying to give you the information and try to give you this, try to give you that. They're trying to make it. They're just like, look, you want this, you gonna file for it. You gonna need the documentation. You're gonna show it. And if you pass away because of a service connected, you pass away because you weren't breathing right because of sleep apnea, and then you go to try to file for the DIC, and it's just like, well, this wasn't service connected, so we'll look out for you, but we're not gonna give you the same compensation. We're not gonna give you this. We're not gonna give you the DIC rates. Well, this is for parents. Hold on, let's go back to the DIC. That is different. And these are the rates, which, like I said, it's not much. You're not receiving a whole ton of stuff when it comes to it. So I'll make this smaller. This is the breakdown of basically, and this goes up every year. I haven't seen the updates to this one yet, and that's what we're gonna talk. Current topic is filing vital. Basically, if you are filing for service connection on stuff, if you're already at 100% PNT when you can't go any higher, do you keep your rating or do you keep the files and the claims that you're still fighting for, even though you've already maxed out? And my answer is basically yes. We are going to make sure that we file everything that we may die from. If it's something that you're not going to die from, yeah, I would pull it back. But if it's something that you may possibly die because of down the road or may cause implications of some sort that cause your death, I would file for it to make sure that it's on there. Because like I said, look, this is the added amounts for surviving spouses. So the monthly payment is of $1,612.75. That is last year's. It still hasn't been updated. I have to find where the updates are. That'll be another video I make for y'all so that y'all have. But it's $1,612.75 that is received to your spouse. Now, how it adds to it. You may qualify for this benefit. The veteran had a VA disability rating of totally disabling, including for individual and employability, for at least 8 full years and leading up to their death. You were married to the veteran for 8 years. You may qualify for this as the 8-year provision. So the 8-year provision means that you would get an extra $342.46 per month. That's if you have that 8-year provision. You have a disability and need help with regular daily activities like eating, bathing, or dressing, aid in attendance. That is if you, as basically the spouse, need assistance. So basically, if you fall under that is like, hey, you old and you need assistance, you would receive $399.54. You can't leave your house due to a disability, another housebound allowance. So keep in mind, they were receiving a housebound allowance. If you're receiving a housebound allowance, you get another $187.17. So basically, you would get the $399 plus the $187. Now, you can still file. You still get some benefits from it, Slicer. The DIC is because of the fact that you died because of a service-connected issue. Then you have one or more children who are under 18, transitional benefit and DSC, $342 for the first 2 years after the veteran's death, and $399 for each eligible child under 18. Because I think this is basically the 342 is basically for any, like even if you have like a school age kid, you would get the 342, but regularly it's like this, and it explains that. Then surviving spouse rates if the veteran died before January 1st of 1993. So let's see. Because you're asking 100% you do not die off of a thing. We went over this a bit earlier. Let me just find where it is. You may be eligible for VA benefits if you meet these requirements. You married the veteran service member within 15 years of the discharge. You were married. No. Married to the veteran service member. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Angel. Appreciate you. Windfall Act? What's the form? Yes, that is also there. Slicer. Donald Pollard asks, how does the Windfall Act and how does it affect Social Security? I'm guessing. So what I'm reading is program spend windfall elimination provision. Let me see this. So this is what I have found. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull this up because this would probably implicate veterans that collect SSID also. So windfall elimination provision. The windfall elimination provision is a formula used to adjust Social Security worker benefits for people who receive non-covered pensions and qualify for Social Security benefits based on other Social Security covered earnings. A non-covered pension is a pension paid by an employer that does not withhold Social Security taxes from your salary, typically state and local governments or non-US employers. Congress passed a web to prevent workers who receive non covered pensions from receiving higher Social Security benefits as if they were long-time low wage earners. In 2022, the WEP applied to 3.1% of all beneficiaries. How the WEP works: Social Security benefits are calculated by applying three different percentages to a person's lifetime average index monthly earnings and adding them up to obtain the worker's monthly benefit. 90% of the first plus. So basically, it's saying that they're trying to make it so that you don't receive it. I'm guessing that's what I'm reading it. The thing is does this fall? The provision is like when we read this, we would have to like look into this here, and does it specify veteran compensation? That's the thing, Donald. Got to make sure we are specifying and seeing where it says veteran compensation. If it doesn't say that, I would call your congressman. If you want more information, call House of Reps, House of Congress. Shit. What state you in, and I will tell you who they are. At least if they're in the Veteran Affairs Committee or the if they're in the House of Representatives Veteran Affairs Committee or their Senate Committee of Veteran Affairs, I can tell you who they are if you fall under the state. I could tell you who these people are because I already have that information. So if somebody needs to reach out to a congressman or a House of Rep that it falls under the Veteran Affairs Committee, you just have to fall. If you know you have one in your state, let me know and I'll tell you who they are and I'll send you their contact information. But in cases like this, we as veterans also have to start asking these questions. We have to start asking these questions like, hey, this change is done to like eliminate you receiving stuff like that. Now, does this change affect me? Does this affect me as a veteran? And that's the thing we have to make sure we are looking at. Because those are the things that we need to highlight. We need to make sure that we are showing that um to do that. That's something we need to make sure we're doing. That's something we need to make sure we are we are highlighting so that that way people can see that. You need to be able to see that and be able to answer the question like, hey, veterans are being affected by this specifically. Because it's a very generalized thing, and that's the problem we have with Congress is that a lot of the stuff is very generalized when it comes to the Windfall Act and it affecting Social Security. Is there a provision for veterans? Is there a provision within this that specifies veterans or veteran actions or veteran issues? And that's what we have to make sure we're looking into and make sure that we have that in writing so that that way when it comes to it, it's just like, oh, okay, this is here. Oh, okay, this specifies for veterans. Because here I haven't seen anything that says disability for veterans or the taking away from veteran portion. But the thing is like, hey, I'm glad you brought this up because this is information, this is new information to me because I had not heard about this. But at the same time, it's just like, how does this affect us? Because most of the time, most of the time when it comes to veteran compensation and stuff like that, it isn't it, it isn't added into the evaluation of the criteria because of the fact that it's tax free and because of the fact you're a veteran. So sometimes that'll change. And the thing is like, look, if it does affect how veterans get their pay and stuff like that, it's something that we have to make sure we're saying on. We have to speak on it. We have to talk to our Congress. We need to talk to our representatives and stuff like that and make sure to have that information there to provide that info to show people that. We need to be able to have that information there to go to them and ask them these questions because the earnings are different because nowhere does it say your retirement or disability benefit. Most of the time when they speak on anything of the sort, it doesn't have to do with veteran stuff because remember, when a veteran becomes 100% P&T, you can also file for Social Security, which I have to look into because I think I can file for it. I don't know the process yet. I need to look into that. um but remember, just because you're 100% P&T through the VA doesn't automatically get you 100% or uh, Social Security automatically. Still go through different process and it's two different entities. So that's why we got to make sure we're paying attention to that when it comes to it because those are two different entities, two different things that is just two different things. Let me just write the one fall. Just saving this file so I can look at it and do a bit more digging into it later. But these are the good questions, and then that's something that at least informs us as veterans because now we can use this information to try to inform other veterans. Like, hey, I found this. How does this affect me? How does this affect my neighbor? How does this affect future veterans? Because you got to remember, we are veterans now. We've gone through the issue. We've dealt with the VA for longer, but there's still veterans coming out after this. So it's also, hey, we got to look out for those that did it ahead of us to make sure they're taken care of, make sure we're taken care of, and also the people that are coming behind us, what we need to do to help them and make sure they are good to go. Because that's something that I think we run into a lot where we don't necessarily have all the info, and the thing is the info changes. Like I said, for us with the mental health changes, the April changes, this might benefit certain service members and certain veterans, and it might hinder certain veterans and certain things. But like I said, if you're gonna file for a disability claim, no matter what it is, even if you got your 100%, even if you're at 100% P&T, I suggest filing for it just because of the benefits that come from it if you pass away from that service connected issue. Both, Slicer. I'm chemical. I could do everything. I could do everything. I'm everywhere. Unfortunately, that's the problem with chemical. You can be anywhere. You can be attached to anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Training exercises or rotations or deployments. It's just like, hey, bro, we need a Seaburn guy. Hey, Cruz. have at it. It's just like what the fuck? Like they need somebody that knows Seaburn and you know your shit. Go help at it. So it varies. It varies where you are. I was literally on the deployment. They sent me with a group. I wasn't even with my company when I was on the deployment, even though I think it was like my first sergeant didn't like me and shit. Because I asked questions and I knew my shit. And he was just like, hey man, you going with Alpha Company. The fuck am I don't even know these people. I made some great friends from that unit. But yeah, they was just like, hey man, they need a Seaburn guy. We're sending the other Seaburn guy with with Bravo with the mechanics over here. Well, they're splitting up into different things to help these points. And I was just like, okay. And here I am with a company I had no idea who the I didn't have anybody. It was literally me by myself, the only person. But then I also did staff. My last 4 years I was in staff. My last 4 years were basically I did 10 years, and my last 4 years were basically in staff in Germany, basically doing covering COVID, running the operations during COVID, which was good and bad at the same time because it was the dumbness that happened. Running the operations for all the Defender series, so all these training exercises that we continue to do with all of Europe, Romania, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Romania, Poland, Belgium, all those. I was in charge of those, running the operations for that for the CSSB out there. Also, the Afghan refugee assistance. I was the operations manager for that also when it came to getting people out of Afghanistan and providing a place on Ramstein in Germany where they were at the at the Air Force base. But we were providing all the water, providing food, providing pallets of this, pallets of that. We were taking it to them to make sure that they were okay before they were sent out to wherever they were being sent out afterwards. But we were part of that. Did a bunch of stuff. Uh, it was all very rewarding. Being on the line units, it's interesting because you see it, and then the thing is sometimes Slicer you end up in a unit where you're not combat arms, but your commander thinks he's combat arms. Yeah, those are always fun too. Not the best, but it varies. Experience vary. But being chemical allowed me to be able to observe and be able to part of different units and let me be a very broad uh, and experienced veteran. Spent 10 years in the military. Out of those 10 years, 7 out of them were as an NCO. 5 out of those 7 were as a staff sergeant. Um, if I would have reenlisted, I would have gotten my sergeant first class, but I wasn't about that life. I wasn't about to make all these changes and do another 10 years. I would only have what? I'd be at 12. I would still have another 8 years to go right now if I would have stayed in. Nah, I'm good. I think being a 100% PNT veteran has paid off. Yep, I would have made it to sergeant first class, Vital. I just needed to re-enlist because the only reason I didn't get it prior to that was because I did not have enough time to serve the commitment. So basically, I was under the 10-year mark. And in order for me to get my sergeant first class, I had to make sure that I had 3 years of remaining time in my contract. So once I hit my 7th year, they were like, we ain't going to give it to you unless you reenlist. And my window didn't open till, what was it? Till my 8.5 year. And then it was just like the unit I was in was trash. A lot of my leadership was trash. There was a lack of accountability. There was a whole bunch of nonsense and a bunch of ugliness of the military that we all know happens was happening. And it was just like, there's no accountability here. And it was just like, if I'm going to keep on finding these people and finding these situations like that, I'd rather not do this to my mental health and cause more issues. And my body was already breaking down at that point. I joined at an older age. I didn't join as that young, full-bodied 18-year-old. I joined at 27, even though my body was fine. But at 27, when you're doing all those rucking, running, all this hua stuff, it takes a toll on your body. But that's neither here nor there anymore. that's something we just got to. But you know, It just happens with your time in service. Everybody has different time in service, but at the end of the day, you still a veteran, and then your disability claims is still your disability claims. Some people go through a lot more than others, and some have just worse instances through the minimal time that they did. So he said, "Damn." By the way, always trying to make me sound like I'm super old, bro. he always, I always get that thought image of like when you say "damn," like the Kevin Hart thing when Kevin Hart and Don Cheadle are talking. He was like, "Man, I'm 55," and he just goes, "Damn." He was like, "Oh, my bad, my bad. I didn't mean it. That my bad." Just like damn, but in those instances, that's what it is. But you being 21 and you learning this stuff ahead of the time, Vital, is going to be very important for you because the thing is you'll know where you have to reference. You'll know you can go to this. You know you can go to the Code of Federal Regulations. You know you can get this information. Shit, you have me as a resource. You already know who I am. And along the way is just like you're gonna get all this information, but you'll be ahead of the game when it comes to when you're getting out. So you know to keep all the documentation, all the information that you need from when you first start in the military, as compared to a lot of us veterans that right now the issue is with filing for disability claims is that a lot of veterans never went to get seen. A lot of veterans didn't get that information. A lot of veterans didn't go to sick call. They didn't go to the doctor. They were told they were weak or they didn't want to, and it was just like that goes into it because a lot of the times it's a lot of veterans now, like a lot of people that come in asking questions are people that have dealt with this because they've been out for years. They've been out of the military for 10, 15 years, and it's like, oh, I'm filing a disability claim, and it's tough, and it's tough to do that because of the fact that it's just like, hey, you have to show the VA where the connection is. I was just like, some people just think it's just like, oh, the medical record. My medical record show I had it. But yeah, it's been 15 years. In those 15 years, has it gotten worse? Have you dealt with the issue? Why did it take you 15 years? And that's the part where people fail to realize is like you have to make that you have to bridge that connection from when you were in service till when you decided to file. You have to bridge that connection and put that there to show them like, hey, look, I decided to do this and I filed 15 years later. Yep, you're always a soldier first. So what it is. Is there dental claims you can file? Yes, you can file for dental. Dental, let's see, let's show you. Because there is dental and oral conditions. These are all the different ones. I'll put this so you can see it here. Love the fact I could just do this and just submit this to you so y'all can see all the dental conditions. So if you get 100% P&T, remember that you remember if you're 100% P&T, you get free dental. So let's say you are dealing with dental now while you go on active duty. Let's say you deal maybe with retired with 23 years. Hey, I appreciate you, Slicer. I wasn't gonna make it. I always thought I was, but it was just like another 10 years plus. It was just like sometimes I do think I was like maybe I should have just stayed and done it. And then sometimes it's just like, you know what? I'm okay where I'm at now. I'm in pain, yes, but I'm not in pain being forced to run or being told to do this or being told to do that. It was just like I can deal with my ailments and my issues on my terms. So that's one of the benefits that I think was just like I'm glad I did get out, and it was just like I could deal with this on my terms and I don't have somebody trying to evaluate me or say something because of the fact that it's just like, oh, you're injured. Well, we still got this ruck. You got to go, kind of stuff. Or it was like, oh, we're gonna try to change your profile. Or it was just like, I've seen so much shit happen in the military. I was just like, you know what? Not about that life. Um, there's certain ways that people can still go in even they're 100%. Retired lieutenant colonel, nice. That's what I was looking for. I was looking. I would have stayed in if I would have been able to do the active duty National Guard, but They weren't basically when I was getting out. They only offered me was like basically, oh, we offer you like it's just a year of the thing and just so you could try it out and stuff like that and just do a year. And I was just like, I'm not gonna try shit out for a year. It was just it's just like you ain't gonna reward me. I ain't getting no bonus, no nothing. You just want me to do a year. Like if I'm gonna do a year in the in National Guard, I might as well just have done another year in the thing if I was deciding to get to stay in. And I was just like, no, I'm deciding to get out. I bought a house and that was my final decision. When I bought that house, it was just like, you know what? It's time for me to get out. I was like, I bought a house, family's growing, I'm out. I'm gonna spend time with this little one growing. I didn't get to do that with my two older ones. My last one, I've been able to enjoy actually seeing her grow up, seeing her actually grow in my eyes and not miss stuff. Been able to take the kids to. I've been able to take my kids to school. Been able to pick them up from school. Been able to take them to like sports practices, pick them up from sports practices. I didn't have to rush or do that combat engineer. Okay. I was just like, and those are the things, man. Slice of that, all that stuff is just like the information we gather and the stuff that we do is just like the stuff changes because hey, well, there's new equipment now, new vehicles, this all and stuff. All the stuff keep changes by the iteration, but at the end of the day, we're all veterans and we still got to deal with the fucking VA. At the end of the fucking day, it don't matter what generation you went through, you still dealing with the VA. So that's something that us we need to realize. But see, look, Vital, these are all the different things. Teeth, loss of due to loss of substance of body of maxilla or mandible without loss of continuity. All that stuff is here. These are all the stuff you can claim for. Now, keep in mind with the VA, like me, at first I wasn't 100% PNT when I first filed. I came out with like 90 something, close to it, but didn't get it. I had already gone to dental and I was seeing my private dental. But then when I got 100% PNT, I went to dental and they started taking care of it. And while I was in service, I was getting cleanings every 3 months. Um, because I guess it was like periodontal. I was like the start of it or something, so they wanted to mitigate it and make sure it didn't get worse. So I was getting those cleanings. I provided that information for to dental after I got on. I got my 100% PNT, and now I can get my cleanings routinely, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to pay for it. Now I'm also going to a periodontist for something, um, and that gets taken care of. So if you have any issues while in service, keep those medical records also because they do give you your dental records. Still, I have them laying around somewhere. You have your dental records and you can produce those. And if you have issues, that's something that you would provide and put in there. We all say, yeah, and that's what people need to realize. We all the same. We all deal with the VA the same. Um, but everybody has different claims. Everybody has different issues. Like all this stuff here, it just shows what you have, what you don't have. These are the different claims that you have. But the thing is a lot of times, a lot of vets don't understand. It's like there's over 3,000 conditions in this. It's over 3,000 conditions. 3,000 conditions. 3,000 disability claims that you can file for. Now, do you have all of them? I would hope not. But yeah, they're gonna remove your wisdom teeth regardless. They always do that. I don't know why they do that, but they always want to remove your wisdom teeth. They're gonna do that. So you're gonna end up having that surgery at one point where they remove them. But yeah, this is one of the best documents to people to use. There's also this resource, if it loads up correctly. Yes. The M21-1. This is also another one that gives you information. So like burial allowance and reimbursement. Gives you who it is, how much it's paid. See if the veteran died after September 11th, 2000. If it died before, 1500. Which I don't understand why there's different differences like that. Like sometimes it's just like, bro, they still passed away. Or it's like it shouldn't matter the time period. It should still stay the same. And I think that would end a lot of the headaches. I think it would reduce a lot of time wasted by the VA if we started making the criteria a bit more simpler to justify for. Like in the case of what are the burial allowances amounts for a non-service connected death? If on before or after 2017, 2018, it's just like, bro, what? Just make it flat across the board. Look, if we pay $300 burial allowance and you pay, that's it. And you keep it the same. You pay 780 for a plot. That's it. So that gives that information there. But just keep it so that it's level. It's just like if everything, if we are always waiting as veterans for compensation, if we are always waiting for the COLA rate change to thing, the COLA rate change should affect everything and it should just go up properly that way. And there's no questions or any extra thing. There's no, oh, this is you get this benefit because you got it in 2001 or you get this benefit. It was just like at the end of the day, the benefits are still the same. Compensation is still the same. Disabilities are different, but how difficult? What's up, Extreme? Um, I wouldn't say there's a difficulty. It's making sure to prove it, Extreme. So if you have PTSD, PTSD leads to a couple of things, but you have to show the diagnosis of that. You have to show the documentation. You have to show the sleep study. You have to show the sleep study that shows that you are having obstructive sleep apnea. And then tying it to PTSD and then having that nexus letter of that medical provider stating that yes, your PTSD has caused your sleep apnea and has aggravated your sleep apnea or whatever the wording is that they use. That's what you have to make sure you're putting there to do it. When it comes to secondary claims, it's not hard claiming them. The thing is you got to make sure you have the documentation to prove the stuff, the diagnosis, the imagery, basically everything that you need for a regular claim. You need the same stuff for a secondary claim because you need it, but then you need that extra information. Like I like to say now, bridging the information together, bridging that PTSD to that sleep apnea, bridging that tinnitus to that migraine, bridging that back pain or uh cervical or lumbar issues to insomnia or whatever the case may be. All those connections have to be, but you have to have that medical provider showing that. A medical professional would have to show that so a sleep specialist would have to provide the diagnosis for the stuff, but you would want a psychiatrist to show that connection also. So you can get a nexus letter from the sleep specialist and from the psychiatrist. But since it's because of the PTSD, you may want to have that psychologist show, like, hey, uh, I've spoken to him about being diagnosed. He's been diagnosed with PTSD, with sleep apnea, and his sleep apnea has contributed to irritability. Since you're not sleeping well, you're not functioning well, you're not getting enough rest, your irritation rate goes up. So you get triggered a lot faster. You have anxiety issues because of it, because you're tired. You start snapping a lot more because of that. That's something you need in writing because that's a contributing factor. You not getting enough sleep makes you irritable. And an irritable service member with PTSD is a cause to trigger anger and stuff like that. You see how I just made that connection? That's a connection you need to show. Cause if you cranky, if you ain't getting sleep and you tired and your mental, how can you put, your mental relaxation, your mental ability to react properly is not there because you are not resting properly and you are not getting the rest to provide sleep for your body, it is causing irritability, which is causing you to lash out more, be a bit angry, yell and get irritated for certain specific things, cause you to forget what stuff like that. That's how you get that. Those are the things you got to make sure you're putting together. You got to make sure you're putting together just like, hey, I'm dealing with sleep apnea and this is how it's affecting my PTSD. Cuz then it's just like, okay, the sleep apnea is shit cuz at the end of the day when it comes to that, you might be able to file for an increase for your PTSD cuz it's making you worse. But then I don't know, there I don't know. I'm not too good on that one. But I know definitely if you're going off of putting anything as a secondary, you have to show how the first one contributes to the second. So your PTSD is there, but sleep apnea is causing it to possibly get worse. But how is your sleep? How is your PTSD causing the sleep apnea? Because I basically just gave the implication of it being the other way, where your sleep apnea caused your PTSD to get worse. But you could do it in that way also. But it's always like I said when it comes to it. Hold on, let me see if I can. Private cruise, private cruise. Let's see if this works. What's the most important thing? I don't know if y'all heard that, but he said it himself. Documentation, documentation, documentation. I need to make sure I can find those, but that's always the most important thing. Always the most important thing is having your documentation and having the ability to provide any connections that you're trying to connect and any information that you're trying to connect. Because if you don't have it, if you don't have any of that connected and you don't have the documentation showing it, it doesn't like you can file for anything. But if it's not connected to each other, it's not that it falls on deaf ears, but it just falls into the criteria where, hey, this information is not being viewed. This information is not. I'm not making that connection. So if the VA cannot make that connection, or you can't make that connection, claiming a secondary makes it difficult if you yourself cannot provide that connection of as to why the PTSD is causing the sleep apnea. You can put medical studies that show that. Some medical studies show that it is worsened or that it makes it better. Whatever the case may be, you can use documentation to show that, medical studies showing that, but then you have to have your evaluator see that through your Nexus letter. You whoever's seeing you has to provide that bridge and be like, look, these are the studies. I've been seeing this because his PTSD has caused his sleep apnea to develop, and it's causing aggravated sleep issues where he's not sleeping correctly. He's waking up more irritable. It's causing his PTSD to trigger more often because of stuff like that. That's how you make that connection, and that's how you get those things evaluated so that people see it's just like, oh, okay, these two coincide with each other. These two work with each other. Otherwise, I can't see any of this information because he's claiming this, but I don't see where the claim connects. And that's where you run into problems. So let me put this resource here out there for y'all also. This is the M21 1. So, this is also another resource that if you click on it, it will give you information and it gives you a breakdown of all the stuff you see here. So, basically, when it comes to, oh, let me move that to the side so you can see it. So, burial and memorial, compensation and pension goes through it, the parts, manual appeals and reviews goes over that, goes over quality assurance through it, resources, field oversight, national training program, quality assurance, HLR procedures, which this is an important one, and it goes over it. Higher level reviews consist of de novo reviews of the issue, identifying requests on a completed. Here's the form, and it breaks this down. Who may conduct them, and it goes over it. Overview of the process, opting into HLR's legacy appeals, all that stuff. This is all information that's here. Just like I said, a lot of it is a lot of homework. It's a lot of info. It's a lot of info. A lot of this is a lot of info. So like I said, I do understand with veterans when it becomes a overwhelming factor, when it's just like, bro, this is a lot to deal with. This is a lot to look at. This is a lot of There's a lot, basically saying it. Like there's a lot of stuff that's here, but it's just like all this information is made available to you guys. The thing is a lot of veterans just don't know where to resource it. A lot of veterans don't communicate with each other, and a lot of veterans just don't know where to find this information because it's just like it's information that is just like, oh, I never heard of this, or I've never seen this, or um, in those cases, it's just like those those are the leading effects to these things, and these are the things that we need to make sure we are contributing to and figuring out so that that way we assist each other. Just like I'm here to assist every Sunday, just cruise. Oh, my internet seems to be going back. I might be able to push this up a bit more. Let's see. That's so weird when it does that. Now we should be able to run it a lot faster and it should be running a lot smoother with no issue. But that's something to always keep in mind and visualize and see. Like these are the things that we don't talk about as much. A lot of veterans don't always communicate with each other and they don't find this information. Like I said, there's a bunch of resources. Oh, my camera keeps going in and out. I need to figure something out with this because my camera has been going in and out a lot more often lately than it used to before. So I'm not entirely sure why it's doing that, but it has been doing that a lot. Um, but yeah, like I was saying, there's a ton of channels out here on YouTube. Uh, most of these channels are helpful. So I'm not saying it. I don't want it that it's just like, hey, y'all just come to me. I would love for y'all to just come to me to get answers, but veterans get together and have a quarterly or conference for all veterans. Um, Recluse, money. I was like, the thing is the issue dealing with all these VSOs and all that stuff. The thing is that they don't communicate with each other. All these VSOs work for different agencies, different entities, like the BFW. Some work for the VFW. Those same ones that work for the VFW don't really interact with the ones that work with the American Legion. Two different entities. So it's like you're working for the. Sometimes they make it seem like you're. In order to do that, we need to make sure that we get people united. We need to have VSOs united. We need to not matter what organization you pay or work through, because the thing is they're two basically different entities. If you go through the VFW, you're more likely to maybe subscribe to be a member through the VFW. That gives them more money. The same way if you do it with the American Legion, you might subscribe to them and become a member and they get more money from that, which expands their thing. So it's a competing factor. Nobody's always on the same page, and that's why I think as veterans, the VSOs and all that stuff don't contribute to each other because they're always separate in what they do. Um, Angels. Question is, can I claim my ex as a secondary to IBS, depression, and anxiety? Can I claim my? What is EX? I'm not sure what that one is. Yeah, extreme. They all do the same thing and the same function, but the problem is that they work for different entities. It's the same thing as like your phone company. You got AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. Um, I forget what the other ones are. They've been all bought out and monopolizing each other, but it was just like they provide you the same thing. They provide you a phone, they provide you phone service, but they don't communicate with each other. It's the same thing. The competing factors. They want you to go buy their phone from their service, not just get it from anybody. They want you to go to their service. So they might hold the function, they might hold this and stuff like that. It was just like, Angel, I'm not sure what EX is the acronym for. Secondary to migraine, IBS, depression, and anxiety. So you got to remember with the depression and anxiety, that falls into the same thing. The mental health. The irritable bowel syndrome depends. My migraines. I'm not sure what EX is, but like I said, you have to show the contributing factor. So anything that you're claiming as a secondary, do the research prior and look into. Oh, that's what that's what I thought that's what you meant. Like I thought that's what you meant when I looked at it. I looked at it that way and I saw it at first and I was just like, that's not what he means. And that's what it was there. Cause as soon as you said ex, I was like, is he talking about his like an ex-wife or something? And I was just like, nah, he can't be. He usually talks about he usually says specific things that he used that. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Um, you know what? I still haven't. The thing is I think people would be able to do that. Angel, on a serious note, I think they would be able to claim that, but you would have to have your psychiatrist or therapist showing that. If your psychiatrist and your therapist showed that, look, man, this dude is worse because of his ex-wife. I'm just like, if file for an increase, why not? Oh shit. That was a good laugh. That was a good laugh. Oh man. That is funny. Oh, extreme. Trust me. When it comes to claim sharks, that's how they feed. The claim sharks feed off of VSOs not having the time and not and they work for free basically. They're still getting paid. VSOs are still getting paid, but they work basically for free for you. They don't get to put an added charge. Like I said, I'm willing to assist people at $50 consultation. We sit down and we go through your stuff and I help you get a thing. I do that for $50. VSOs get their salary paid. A VSO will get their salary paid and get their stuff done that way. And they are salaried employees through their organization. So that's why it's that they don't talk to each other. Because the thing is they get paid because you're going to see their organization or because their organization is receiving donations from you. That's how the American Legion and BFW work. They're nonprofit organizations, which that's kind of like what I'm getting my certificate in through with also public administration degree. But those are the things that people don't realize. Those nonprofits, they work off of donations. American Legion and the VFW, they have entities that they are partnered with. So they have programs with big corporations, which, gives them a donation, which allows them to provide, hey, we can pay this VSO this amount a year to assist veterans. Now, do those VSOs have timetables? No, but they're a free resource that they know they can go to and get assistance to. Thing is they get overwhelmed too. But those claim sharks, those claim entities and programs and all that stuff, they know what they're doing. They know veterans are out there. They know that veterans don't have a resource like this channel made available to them all the time. They know that. Yo, Annette, good morning. That's what people don't realize. That's why these claim sharks, why because they make money. You got to remember, and that's why those VSOs will leave and people leave. The thing is that's why I say that's the problem also with the VA. We are not paying our people properly in the VA. I was like, you want people to go above and beyond, but you're not paying them as much. That same claim shot, look, that VSO may be making, let's say, what, 60, 70,000 a year? Maybe. I don't even know how much a VSO makes a year through the organization. That I have to look into. Don't know. But let's say you're making 60 to 70,000 a year, right? Through some of these claim sharks, veterans are being put into contracts or going put into things to charge more. So let's say extreme in certain cases, it's veterans that are applying and going through these claim sharks, and they are receiving, like, let's say you're at 20%, and the contract basically states is like, hey, we will get a 10% of whatever back paid you get from whenever we filed a claim or whatever the case may be, whatever the adjustment is, we're getting 10% of that for the next 5 years or for the next 10 years or whatever the case may be. And that VSO is getting a cut of that. So it could be that VSO could be making what, $100, $200 off of a claim he did 10 years ago. He's still making $200 off of that. Because that veteran is still paying the amount to that shark, but the VSO is now making extra side money that he didn't have to do anything to. And that's why these claim sharks keep doing that. They've put people into contracts and have them sign these things because they will continue to make money down the road. They know, like, hey, if you become 100% P&T, you're going to keep on making that money for the rest of your life. And it's only going to go up. Might only be 2.5%, but it's still going to keep going up. So at the end of the day, if you're paying me $200 a month because I took care of your claim, I know next year that $200, you're going to be making an extra more, but I'm still getting $200 off of you. If I'm making an automatic $200 off of a veteran for a year, that's $2,400 I just made. I ain't do shit. See the thought process? It all comes down to a business, but it also comes down to, like, hey, some people are just trying to make money. And the thing is when times get rough like it is now, and cost of living goes up, even though it's only 2.5%, which is a whole lot of bullshit. But when it goes up, people got to try to make money. And that's the same thing with the VA. In the VA, if you work as a psychiatrist, you are getting a salaried amount at that amount. If that psychiatrist decided, you know what, I'm going to open up my own shop. Like I gave this example to somebody. It was just like, if I'm a psychiatrist, let's say I'm a psychiatrist, they get paid pretty well. You don't get paid by the hour in the VA. You're getting paid a salary amount. So let's say we are making $100,000, which is on the low end for one of these psychiatrists. I'm making $100,000 a year as a psychiatrist, and I'm dealing with all these veterans, consistently dealing with all these veterans, having one of them freak out on me, or having one lose their shit, or some like break down, like, the same process, but you still doing it through the VA. You making $100,000. That same me as that psychiatrist, I can go and open up my own mental health clinic and make way over $100,000 because I charge at my rate. So it's per hour I'm charging now. I'm not salaried. I'm charging per hour. Mind you, the fact that now I can also get in contract with the same VA, and they'll pay me to service some veterans extra. So I'm making money as my own entity. I'm making money as my own psychiatrist in my own clinic. And then I'm also getting contracted out by the VA to help with the VA veterans. I'm making more than $100,000 easily. And I mean easily. I'm making over $100,000. And I don't have to resort to dealing with the VA. This is my clinic now. I run this. I make $100,000 just off of that, but now the VA is paying me a couple extra 100,000 or a couple thousand just to service the veterans through the VA. That adds up. Those two entities add up. That's why we can't keep people in the VA, because pay isn't comparable. VSOs, if they know, they leave. I was just like, I have my credentialing, I have my information. Now, if I work for a claim shark, I can assist veterans, but then I'm also getting a cut all the time. Because as a VSO, the most I believe you can charge is like $100 or something like that. And you can't charge, keep in mind, as a accredited official, you cannot charge for initial claims. These claim sharks, they charge the hell out of you for that initial claim. And they will charge and they will fight for it. And the thing is it's just like, hey, look, it's the same thing as going to like what I'm doing, showing you the CFRs doing the stuff like that. They prey on veterans that just give up. They prey on veterans that don't want to do the heavy lifting. They prey on veterans that just don't know where to look. So it's easy for me to just be like, hey, you know what? Hey, Extreme, you want me to file your disability claim? Look, I'm gonna put you on a contract real quick. I'm gonna help you get, let's say you at 10% right now, right? I'm not gonna promise you, but I can assure you you will get an increase. Off of this increase, I need you to pay me 5% of what that increase is for the next 5 years. And I'll file for you. I'll do all the stuff. I'll get the documentation ready and all that stuff. I'll do that. You just need to pay me 5% going forward for the next 5 years. And you be like, damn, that's a pretty damn good deal. You gonna file everything for me? You gonna do everything for me? All I gotta do is pay 5% for the next 5 years? And some people just jump on that. Now, it's not always that they put you into contracts like that. Sometimes it's just like, hey, we are filing. You filed, you got denied, you want to file an appeal. I'm going to help you with that appeal. And I'm going to ask for 10 to 15% of what your back pay is. And some people, you got to remember, some people be having claims that go back a couple of years. And if you're getting assistance and you're getting 10% of that, that should go a long way. That's a nice little chunk of change you just got thrown into your pocket for providing somebody with information that was readily available. They just didn't want to do the work for it, which is understandable. It's still a service being done. I just don't think that it should be done to veterans in a way where you are taking their resources that they earned because of their disabilities for an extended period of time. If it's like a one-time fee where a lot of these claim sharks do it, it's just like, hey, look, one-time fee, you pay me this amount, no matter if you go up, go down, or you get an extensive back pay or something like that. I'm cool with that. I got no problem with being with that happening, because the thing is, it's a one-time fee you're gonna pay. But when you're gonna tell me that you got to pay this person over a course of a time period to do something that you only did one time, it was just like, bro, there's no benefit from you dealing with these claim sharks if you're paying them over a 5-year period. You got what happened, and then you're paying for it, but you're still paying for it after the fact. It was like you basically just took out a loan through a claim shark to pay them to provide a service. Now, if you look at it, at the end of the day, the money that you are paying back ends up being more than what you would have paid if you would have just gone to another consultant and paid that one-time fee. So that's why it's different. I was just like, I always tell people, you don't need to go to a claim shark. You don't need to go to claim agencies or claim entities. If you need a lawyer, different story. If you need a lawyer to file or to fight a higher level review, stuff like that, that's a different thing. But if it's that you are going to one of these entities just to file an initial claim or just to get your stuff started, there's no need for that. You can do all that on your own. Come hang out with me for a couple of hours. Just ask me questions and I will get you those answers. If you want, we can have a special consultation. Like I said, just $50. I'm gonna just charge people $50. And that's the thing, Extreme. It's just like a lot of veterans don't feel comfortable. They don't know where to start. They've never they never thought about it. It was just like I said, most veterans, we get out and it's, man, fuck this shit. I'm done with this shit. I don't want to deal. I don't want, if anybody says anything about military to me, I'm liable to slap them. Kind of thought. That's the thought process we get into. It's just like, man, I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to deal with it. But that's the hindrance, and that's where we fall into trouble when it comes to the VA. And it's just like the military knows that. It was just like, look, you're going to get out. We're going to make it suck so much that you just don't want to deal with anything like that you ain't even going to worry about the VA. And a lot of people go through that. And then next thing you know, all those injuries and stuff like that you suffered through the military, you didn't claim, you didn't do anything for, and it ends up biting you in the ass because now you have to do the heavy lifting to provide the information. But if you know where you're looking at, if you have the resources, if you have something like this, the M21-5, which is this one, Chapter 5, higher level review procedures, but it's the M21-1, gives you that information. Then you got the Code of Federal Regulations. If you have all this information and you have it there, you are going to be more successful because you know where to reference. The same way when you were in service and it was just like, hey, regulation says you have to have this, this, and that. You were better off when you actually looked at the regulation and read it and searched for it, found what it was it said, and be like, oh, okay, this is my left and right limit. And it's the same thing with the CFR. What is my left and right limit when it comes to mental health disorders? These are this is my left and right limit. That's what it becomes. These become my left and right limits. Okay, what about the digestive system? These are my left and right limits. It's just taking the time to process it, taking the time to actually go through it and do your homework. The same way, like, hey, if once you were a soldier and somebody corrected you on something and you didn't like the way they came at you, you want to make sure that they're actually correcting you in the right manner. If they're not correcting you in the right manner, it's just like, you know what, I gotta check this. I don't think that was right. You went into the regulation, and then next time they tried to correct you, be like, look, according to regulation, this, and that. They probably still want to smoke you or some shit, but at the end of the day, they know it's just like, okay, this soldier actually went out his way to actually educate himself on the issue, and they ain't gonna try to come at you again once you corrected them. I can assure you that. And that's the same thing with this. Once you get that information and you found it, it was just like, oh, okay, this is how I filed for this. This is the information. Like, oh, irritable bowel syndrome. This is what I have. If you can, you gotta tell your daughter Extreme. It was just like, ask for the records, all those medical profiles. If she gets a profile, make a copy of it. Any instance that she has of anything, make a copy of it. Ask for a copy. They can't tell you no. It's your medical records. They might tell you, oh, well, we usually don't do that. I don't give a fuck. These are my records. I'm asking for information on my records so that I could obtain it. The thing is most service members don't think to do that. Anytime you go to sick call, notate it. Keep a journal. Like I said, if you have an I love me book, you should have a I hurt me book. That's what I'm gonna call it. The I hurt me book. Writing that shit down. I'm gonna copyright that shit. My I hurt me book. You got the my I love me book, I hurt me book. Anything medical injury wise gets filed away in the I hurt me book. Anything that's good for you, awards, anything like that, have them there. You get all those records and you have that because you got to remember, not everything gets put into your medical records. When you had those, another thing that I felt that I like to tell service members, your pre-deployment health assessments, your post-deployment health assessments, those PHAs are not in your medical records. I didn't find them. I didn't see them. Even when it came to just a regular rotation or whatever the hell, and they make you fill out those PHAs, and you had to do that every year, I didn't see any highlighted part of my record showing that. You mention a bunch of stuff at the PHAs, but if you don't go and get seen for it after the fact, it doesn't show up, does it? You didn't actually see it there. So those are the things that you need to realize, and those are the things you need to put into the concept of showing, like, hey, this is what I have. This is how I hurt myself. This is the documentation I have to prove where I hurt myself and how I hurt myself. And all that information becomes very valuable because it shows what it has. It shows what you went through. It shows, okay, I went through this situation. This is the information I have showing said information. I have my medical profile for my ankle. I'm gonna just put this to the side because once that medical profile, Extreme, I appreciate you. You have yourself a good one. Take care of yourself. I was just like, people need to understand that when you have that documentation, and that's why I wish I could reach out to more active duty service members, because a lot of times I don't reach out to them and I don't see them on these feeds. A lot of the times it's veterans, because it is Veteran Awareness Project or the Veteran Awareness Workshop. But the thing is a lot of these active duty service members need to start realizing that this is information that is vital to you, that prepares you for life after the military. The military is not something that happens and continues to happen throughout the years. You are going to become a veteran eventually. Whether you like it or not, it is not a thing you do for the remainder of your time. You are going to become a veteran at one point. So being prepared as a veteran is one of the most highlighted things to do. And one of the things you need to keep in mind. But it's 2:16 now. We've been going on for like 2 hours and a half, approaching. I know we had our issues earlier with the stream, which is always a problem. But wanted to say thank you to everybody that tuned in. I appreciate all the questions. I appreciate all the assistance. Angel with also helping out with answers and questions. Like I said, we do this every Sunday. Excuse me. Veteran Awareness Project. That's what we're called. That's what I'm calling this program. And we do this as a assistance to veterans. Same thing, assistance to service members, whatever branch you are, whatever capacity it was, whether it's active duty, National Guard, or reserve. This is something to help veterans get better, help veterans be aware, and learn their benefits, entitlements, and stuff like that. Like I said, with the announcements earlier, we are going to be having a newsletter that rounds up a bunch of information for you guys, and we'll try to set a date where this is where it will be posted on a community post on YouTube, and it'll also be posted in another location, which I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do, where exactly that'll be. That'll be a newsletter for you guys to have and receive on a sounds like I used that left and right slimmers before. Slicer all the time. That's how I educated myself and I educated those around me. Cause you always ran into leadership. You always ran into leadership that used an intimidation factor where they actually weren't leaders. I had that when I was dealing with it. Nacho, yeah, I understand that. I understand that. But learning your left and right limits, at the end of the day, it becomes like I started doing that more. Slicer, like I said, I had a sergeant first class that was on I think it was like a staff duty detail, where it's just like the brigade staff duty is done by those um seniors that are either getting med boarded or retirement. So they don't really work much. They don't got much to do at work, but their job was to pull staff duty at the brigade level, maybe like twice a week or something. That's all they did. And they had like one day where they pulled duty, and then they had like 3 or 4 days off and then pulled it again. And it was just a rotation like that. The sergeant first class I had it with that day was with a cane, and he basically explained, it was like, look, man, you look young, you look high speed, you look like you could run and stuff like that. He was just like, don't end up like me. I was just like, if you get hurt, go get seen. Go to sick call. Go talk to somebody. Go get seen for anything you have. Cause he was like, at the end of the day, ain't nobody in here that you serving with is gonna make sure that they pushing you in that wheelchair if you end up in one. Ain't nobody gonna be taking care of you after the fact. Once that man told me that, I listened to it and I went to sick call and everything. I got everything notated. That man told me that stuff, and it was just like, he right. But at the same time, there was a lot of leadership, and there still is leadership in the military right now that don't know how to actually lead soldiers, don't have respect of the soldiers, that the only way they get anything done is by toxic leadership, negative leadership, or intimidation. So remember, I joined at 27. I wasn't 18. I knew when somebody was full of shit, when they weren't full of shit. I might have had that little specialist PFC on my chest, but I was 27 years old. I had been through life. I knew when somebody was bullshitting me and when somebody was not bullshitting me. So when I had another grown ass man trying to bullshit me and I could read through it, I looked at the regulation. Oh, your haircut. You need to make sure it's cut this way and this way. It was just like, according to regulation, this says this, and that when it came to my haircut. Because it seems like you are the only NCO that has a problem with my haircut where I don't get corrected by any other person in this battalion or company for my haircut. At the end of the day, it is also commander's discretion. So you may have an issue with my haircut. That doesn't mean I have to cut it because you have a problem. When my commander tells me that my haircut may be, what's the word they like to use, fattish or whatever was it? I think that's what it was. Then I'll cut my hair. That NCO didn't like that shit, but best believe that NCO didn't fuck with me after that because he saw I went to the regulation and I saw what I needed. When I was proven wrong, I appreciate that. You know why? Because now I have something that I could use in my toolbook to assist other veterans. That's what it is. It's the same thing with the VA. Same thing with the VA. Hey, man, if you do this, what percentage do I get? Well, I got to look at the regulation. I got to look and see what the regulation says. I can't tell you because that's the thing. A lot of times with veterans, it's a lot of word of mouth where the left and right limits aren't being told correctly. Or like look in Nacho's case. Go to sick call, you might get kicked out of the platoon. At the end of the day, anybody in that platoon checking on you, Nacho, you probably have a couple of friends still, but is any one of those like with you right now, like assisting you, making sure you taken care of and stuff like that? No. So it's just like you got to get that mentality where it's just like, yes, there's things that are done, said, but at the end of the day, you're the only one that's going to take care of yourself at the back end. The same way you're the only one that's going to go through the VA. You're going to be the only one that has to provide the documentation. You have to provide the answers. You have to file the claim. Nobody else is doing that for you. So knowing your left and right limits goes a long way. Shit, in life, that's a very great thing. I received the letter stating I received the letter. Yes, you can. File it quick, Annette. File that and then look into it because you're supposed to receive a letter. So then that means you have to double check to make sure you file that. You file to make sure, hey, VA, has there been a change with my address? And you can have that on record. Shit, you can try to put that on record too. I was like, there has not been a change in my address since this time. I've been receiving everything else, every correspondence from this place at this time. So this was sent to me in error, and it was not justified for a change. The thing is if you don't receive it, then they try to say, oh, you didn't receive this letter, so we took it as the easy way out for the VA is like, well, we didn't receive you saying no, so we just went ahead and did it. Anything like that, you file against it. Anything in those situations, file against it because a lot of the times it'll be like, hey, when was this letter mailed out? When was this letter submitted? To what address was it submitted? Because I've been receiving everything else, but I did not receive this. And when it comes to those decreases, you have to be able to show, and they have to be able to show that you have gotten better. It is not off of one instance. It has to be, I believe it's at least 2 different examinations or something showing that your issue has increased and gotten better drastically or has shown major improvement within those 2 evaluations, or maybe it was being seen 2 times or whatever the case, but they cannot just reduce you from one day to the next. There has to be a paper trail. The same way you have to provide the paper trail, they have to provide the paper trail when it comes to any reduction. Because it's just like, hey, well, you have rhinitis here, and then the next time we saw you, you say you ain't have no issues. And then the next time we saw you again, you had slight issues, but it wasn't bothering you. That's how you end up with a reduction. But if you have information basically like, hey, because that's the one thing that people need to realize when it comes to it. If what you are saying affects you drastically, also in those examinations, if you are saying that you are doing great, I ain't dealing with it, I don't feel nothing wrong, that comes back to hurt you. If you're saying that it feels good, talk about how it's bad also. But in that, always file anything that it's them reducing you, you appeal it. Anytime you're getting any sort of reduction, appeal it. File a complaint. File anything you can to be like, nah, bro, this ain't happening. Y'all not reducing me for this. I was like, what reasons do you have for reducing me? And then go through the process like that. It just sucks that it's just like we don't have separate entities to differentiate and separate these things. So it's just like, yeah, you're going through this issue, but Why did y'all do this? Why don't y'all have a separate resource when it comes to, like, look, you should have a claims department and you should have a reduction department. Because now you're taking away from the same people that do the same stuff to try to deal with something that sometimes they just do an error. And that could take months of process. So on that, definitely file that. Because you're definitely supposed to receive a letter stating that you are receiving a reduction, and that letter, I believe it tells you that you have 30 days to notify them that you plan to, like, thing. And that's crazy to me. The same way it was just like you should have 6 months to go against any of their claims. That's how it should be. I don't think it should be 30 days. It should be like 6 months from, hey, you are getting a reduction. We are filing this for reducing you at this. At the 6 month mark is when it will take an effect. The same way they want to do like the effect with the changes of CFR, that should be when it comes to reductions. Because I believe with the reductions, once you get it, you have 30 days to file something against it. They should give you a 6 month process where they send you multiple mails and you can receive at least 2 mails stating that you are going to get reduced. Because when you get the reduction, it tells you, and then it's like you got 30 days. Now, give me 6 months, because in 6 months, I can go to my doctor and I can show and get more evidence showing that what y'all trying to downgrade me on is incorrect. But they try to do that 30 thing because they just trying to reduce you. And then if you don't file for the claim, but I believe if you have to at least appeal it within the 30 days and then they give you that time period. But I just think that if you're getting a reduction, you should get it for that. Annette, thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Annette. Really do. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's how you make sure to go about it that way. They have to provide that information. They have to show you where it is. And like I said, use the use their information against them also. Cause it's just like, hey, y'all have had my same address for whatever amount of time. I've received everything else. And then but that's the thing, most of the time we don't even keep the damn VA mail that we get if we do get it. Um and be like, look, I received this last piece of mail where my address didn't change and stuff like that, but I have not received anything else. So did my address change? Was there something wrong? Was something sent out in error? Because sometimes they do send out these letters in error because they mess it up. Remember, what was it last year when they sent out that mail, which really ticked me off, and it just like quieted off. I was just like, there's about 75,000 veterans that received a letter basically stating that something went wrong with their disability claim or what they claimed or whatever the case, but you shouldn't worry about it. If there's an issue, we'll notify you. Bro, you just sent me a letter saying that y'all messed up on something, but y'all not telling me exactly what y'all messed up on. But then if something else changes, y'all gonna let me know after the fact. That shit didn't make no damn sense to me when I saw that, but that's the VA. The VA needs a revamp in procedures, standard operating procedures and contingency procedures need to be changed within the VA to service veterans better and avoid backlog and just straight up stupidity that happens. Because if it's an error like that, I was just like, bro, y'all sent the mail, but I didn't get the mail. Whose fault is that? I was just like, they act like they don't got phone numbers. Oh no, so then you should definitely file in that and then you should put that in there. The reason that you didn't receive the letter and the reason why you couldn't meet the deadline was because you were hospitalized and submit the paperwork of when you were in the hospital. Just add that as added evidence of basically you were in the hospital and show your time period of when you were in the hospital. It was like you were in and out of the hospital, or you were in the hospital for this time period, or you were dealing with this in the hospital. That's documentation you can use. It was just like, Les, I was planning to appeal this reduction, but I was in the hospital from this time period to this time period. Here's the documentation. Yeah, they quick. They quick. The VA, like I tell people, the VA is quick to try to take money from you, but when they owe you that money, good luck getting that shit. Then it becomes all right. We might be able to get you something, but it's gonna take us some time. Because look at how when it comes to back pay, I was like, so y'all figured out that I was supposed to be at this rate beforehand, but now it's still taking out like a month or two to get me my information and give me my money back. But y'all only give me 30 days for a reduction. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like it's like how do y'all operate? It was just like the same shit happened in the army. They were just like no pay due. Like, bro, what you mean I'm not getting paid? Oh, because you got overpaid here or overpaid there. So y'all didn't even ask me to verify this debt. Y'all just took the debt. And now I got no pay due. I remember one time I got like, I forget what it was I got as a paycheck. That shit was terrible. I was struggling. And it was just like, it was incorrect. And then I had to file for it back. And then it took them like 2 months to get. I was like, bro, I've been struggling. They fixed it so that my next check was good. But the money they owed me, they didn't give me. And I was just like, bro, why does it take so long? Y'all clearly saw it was an error. And y'all still trying to like, but that's all the stuff. Think, like I said, with us veterans, that's what we need to make sure we're doing. Think outside the box. We have to like those like like it was just mentioning, like Slicer was just said, those left and right limits. Those left and right limits go to information you obtain and information you learn. Because most people don't think it was just like, hey, if I couldn't appeal for a certain reason, it was just like, see, Annette, you probably didn't even think it was like, damn, I could actually provide. You didn't think of using your information of being in the hospital as evidence as to why you couldn't go against it. How to set up an appointment? um, I have my email on the thing, Annette. It'll just be you'll be my first if that's the case. But it depends on what is well look, um I have my email. It's just cruise. Let me make sure to put this in here for you. So that is the email. I'm waiting on a decision for PTSD claim. I also have a sleep apnea secondary to PTSD as well. Can I start submitting? Um, Chris, the main thing is you have to make sure that the PTSD is confirmed. You have to make sure that the PTSD is actually a claim, is actually service connected. Because if you submit for a secondary to PTSD and then they say you don't got PTSD, your secondary just went out the window. So you want to make sure you have the PTSD claim solidified, whatever the percentage may be, and then file for secondaries through the PTSD. Because if you don't have the primary there, you can't get there. And for net, it's just basically what exactly is it assistance you need with? Because I have no issues doing that. That's the thing. Like I said, if it's gonna be for me to assist, it'll just be a $50 pay. That's it. That's the only thing you're ever gonna pay me. $50, and I will assist you in whatever manner I can to assist you, find you information, find you resources, find you what you need to be able to produce what you need to do that. Um, Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, you can always just tune in every Sunday or whenever I have these pop up streams and just ask questions. Just continue to ask questions. That's the only thing. It's a $50 charge to assist veterans. That's all I'm gonna charge you. But if not, it'll just be, hey, you come in on Sundays and you can ask questions. But if it's gonna be something that you're paying $50 for, that's something that, hey, we will meet up whether via Zoom or whatever, like video conferencing thing, and that way we will go through it so I can share the screen, go through what you have. You can give me specific information because a lot of times with doing this online, it makes it I like doing the online versions of lives because of the fact that I can communicate with you guys and you can see what I'm showing you and stuff like that. When it comes to doing videos, if you leave a comment, it's hard to understand. So if you have specifics and stuff like that, I don't want you to air them out on live. But if you want to talk on a separate thing, then like I said, that'll just be like a consultation that we can do just to go through everything, give you all the information you can get, and assist you that way. I was just like, I'm not promising any increases. I'm not promising anything like that. It's just basically to assist because how to set up my claim. Oh no, Annette, if it's to set up your claim, that's something I don't want to charge for that. That's just like if you want to go more in depth on it, like if you have like if it's certain things we can still conversate. And that's fine. And basically you already made like a down payment. So that's why I ain't even gonna say that. And that's not the first time you've done it. So like again, I appreciate that. But setting up your claim, the most important thing is, Annette, is getting your paperwork together. Get all the documentation you need together. Think of all the things outside of the box. Like I said, when it comes to making this claim. So if it's to fight that denial, making sure you have a doctor on hand, a nexus letter that you can obtain, or documents that you can show of you still dealing with the issue, so that way when you fight it, it's just like, hey, this is what I have. You tried to reduce me. This is showing that I don't need a reduction because of this in that instance. This is my nexus letter from my medical provider providing me the information saying, hey, I have this, I have that, I've seen this person for this long, they've been dealing with it with this, and it's actually worsened, or whatever the case may be, and you have that. That's all information there. But definitely use the email, send it out to me. Just let me know who you are, and we'll go from there. But I have no problem assisting in that manner. But yeah, that's what it basically is. All it's information that's here. Like I said, the CFR helps, the M21-1 helps, and just veterans assisting other veterans, that also helps also. So that's the stuff that we need to make sure we're contributing to, and just helping each other out with these answers. And Chris, well, if you've already filed for it, it's basically what they're gonna do. If you've already filed as secondary to sleep apnea, it's just like you're already putting that in there. So it's just like, but they, like I said, they need to confirm first the PTSD. Once the PTSD is confirmed, then they can look into the sleep apnea. And then you have to ensure that the connection that you're making works between those two, showing that the sleep apnea was caused by the PTSD. Because if you're just filing it as a secondary to it, you have to show how it's a secondary to it. It's not just that you're just connecting PTSD to sleep apnea. How is it a secondary to the PTSD? So that's something that if you filed for it and you have it, it should be in your documentation showing that connection. Because if you're just saying, oh, PTSD did it and I want to claim sleep apnea, but then there's nothing showing that the PTSD is what's causing it, that's where people get into trouble. Remember, you can do a lot with secondaries. The thing is that you have to provide that bridge to show where that connection lies. Not where it lies together, basically. Where that bridge lies of, hey, here we go. I got PTSD. So now the bridge is connecting it to, this is how it causes my sleep apnea. This is how it aggravates my sleep apnea. This is how it does this. And those are the different instances where you have to make sure you're doing that. Because just because people are claiming it as that secondary because somebody else claimed it as secondary, two different things. The evidence isn't the same. The same procedures or the same doctor was not seen, or the same wording was possibly not used. So you have to make sure that you're putting that into that connection. You have to make sure those connections are being made to solidify your primary is there, which is service connected, and it's connected to your secondary for that issue. So that's something to provide, and something to acknowledge, and something to see. Because once you have that, it makes it easier. But if you don't have one thing connected, you're basically filing on claiming, hey, this secondary is caused by this. But if the VA says we don't think your PTSD was caused by us, your secondary. I just like lost my internet, just like crapped out on me. That was interesting. I never had that happen before. Am I live again? Y'all see me? Y'all see me? Oh yeah, like that was so weird. I just literally My thing literally just disconnected me out of nowhere. That must be a sign. It's just like it's time to go, yo. Yeah, you're like, okay. I was just making sure because for some reason I looked up at my screen and it said that disconnected from server. So I don't know if that was an issue through YouTube that it got removed or what the case may be, but I just literally lost that and I was just like, what the hell just happened? Okay. Appreciate that, Annette. But yeah, we probably are gonna that might be the cue that it's time to call it a night because we are about to approach. Then we're about to hit 3 hours today. Um, but yeah, so roundup of everything. We went through the CFR. We went through burial information. We went through the M21-1. We went through the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4, which is the schedule of ratings. We hit on a couple of other different topics. We made the announcement that we will start providing a newsletter of a roundup of information and stuff like that that'll benefit veterans to just be aware on. That'll be a weekly thing that we start providing. Uh, the 2025 disability rates are out on my channel. I have the video for that. That was published on Thursday. This morning, I published the special monthly compensation rates. So that's also available. So those videos are there. Like I said, we're working on stuff in the background to basically prepare for the start of next year and have a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of videos and stuff like that. That basically is just like informing veterans and giving them the knowledge that they need to provide a fully developed claim and know what their resources are, what their left and right limits are, what disability claims and stuff like that, and any pertinent questions or anything like that, make sure you leave them in the comments. Anything that you may want to talk about more for the following week, make sure that when this is published, put it in the comments. Ask the question there so that way I know, hey, so and so was interested in this. Let's talk about this next week, and that's the best way for me to prepare and know what it is. When it's not just, I do appreciate just questions being thrown out because it just we're here to assist. But it's a lot easier if I can prepare for something so that way, hey, if you tune in next week after that comment, I can give you exactly what you need prepared and looked into, and it's it's a fully developed answer. How you like it like that? Let's see what I did there. See what I did there. Um, but yeah, that's what we'll continue to do. Um, email is on the link. It might be that one, Annette, or I may have the LLC one on my thing. You can email either one of those two and just get in contact with me. Uh, and that's what we'll basically do, and we'll just continue from there. So, as always, look out for one another, take care of one another, be good to one another, and love one another, and stay marvelous while doing it at all times. This is the Veteran Awareness Project. I'm just Cruz. This is our weekly workshop. Thank you for being here. I will make sure to see y'all next week, Sunday, same time, same place. Hopefully, our internet doesn't act up at the first half of it like it did this time around, and we got it good to go for the remainder. Um, like I said, we'll be doing pop ups throughout the week now. At least once a week, we'll be doing another one of these lives as I get more time in school, starts toning down a bit. We'll be able to provide more, and we'll keep on working on our digital product and more videos to educate veterans, dependents, and service members. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good rest of y'all Sunday. Y'all watching football. Hopefully your team wins. Y'all don't watch football. Hopefully you have a relaxing Sunday. If not, I'll catch you on the next one. Cruz signing out. Peace.